Thank you for being here. Before we get started, I always like to just say, if you could turn to the person next to you and just say hi. Just make sure you introduce yourselves. There's some more. Hey, Kristen. Good to see you. There's plenty up front. I know, we gotta get you all forward. I don't bite.
The brave ones are up here.
I know, I appreciate it. We'll go ahead and get started now. Good morning. How's everybody doing? Good? Enjoying those blue skies and the warm weather out there? All right, good, good. So we've got a great meeting planned. And to kick things off, we'll start with our breakfast sponsors. The one and only Jason Tabling and Marissa Brennan, First American Title. So guys, you want to come on up, say hello?
Sure thing. Everybody. I don't even know what day it is. That's how crazy May has been so far. There's not much to report in the title insurance space other than we rolled out in March 1 a new kind of insurance policy, which to most people they're like, what are you even talking about? Typically, most title companies, or all title companies in Colorado, issue something called a standard ALTA, ALTA policy. You'll see that on the title commitments. And First American and actually other title companies across the United States have something called that's more benefits than the ALTA, and we're the first to bring it. First American is the first to bring it to Colorado. We're calling it the Eagle policy for homeowners. Some of you have this flyer, and after I'm done talking, I'm going to go grab more out of my car and bring them if you want to grab some on your way out. But this is our standard policy at First American now. The only time it doesn't apply is when the buyer is an investor, LLC, and in some trusts, it's the...
So if a trust is revocable and we find out it's revocable, it does apply. Non-revocable is not. We cannot offer the equal policy.
So it will revert back to a standard ALTA policy on those when that is the buyer on those kinds of transactions. But on the back of this flyer, it shows you the difference in the coverages of the Eagle policy. So all these check marks are the Eagle policy, and the standard stops at right here. So there's about 33 additional coverages on the Eagle policy. And one big factor is that we cover post-closing, so future issues that come up. So think title lock. If you guys have, I'm sure we've all heard about title lock on the radio or on a commercial if you're listening to the TV at 2 a.m. It's on there. I've never signed up for it, but from what I'm told, it's a subscription, like $200 annually, and all they do is monitor forged documents on your property through the county. But that's it. They just notify you. There's no way they don't help you fix it. We're taking that one step further, and we're going to help fix those forged documents on your policy. So that's a big, great feature of the Eagle policy. I'm trying to think of anything else on there.
No. There's quite a bit, so if you read through it and have questions, just reach out to us, but it is our standard policy.
Is it more expensive than the ALTA?
Yeah.
By how much?
You might know that a little bit better than me. It's per purchase, the price point, so it just depends. I think maybe, from what I've seen, $30, $40 on certain price brackets. On the higher purchase prices, maybe a little bit more.
My
maybe
last one
100.
was about $90.
Yeah.
So
it just depends. We can quote for you, but it's definitely worth it. And we don't charge for the owner's extended coverage in addition to. So that $75 fee that you typically see, that's already included in this policy. That is not an additional fee. Okay, so that's something really important to remember when you're quoting fees or comparing fees across the board. That won't be an additional fee from us.
And we can do net sheets for you right away, or if you sign on Ignite RE, which is our system, it's a super great system to do O&Es, pull deeds, net sheets, everything.
Yeah, if you don't have access to Ignite RE, reach out to me. I just have to send you an invite link, and then you have access to all that as well. Yeah.
Do the sellers have a choice to offer the original or the new one? So sellers have a choice.
Yeah.
So on the buy side, it's First American, you want to ask, is this the Eagle?
Yeah.
And if they're not willing to do that, maybe it's best for the buyer to fill that gap.
To just fill that gap.
Correct.
We've had a lot of people do that where the buyer say, I want this. so I'm going to pay whatever the difference is.
Because right now they wouldn't know.
Right.
We would not know what we were getting.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a ton more coverage. And the biggest thing, title's always been in the past, covering what's happened in the past. The fact that there's coverages for the future is huge. And a lot of buyers want that.
We could write it in the offer.
Totally. Yep.
We want the Eagle, and we would call it
The Eagle policy. Yep, just like that. Mm-hmm.
And that's our standard policy. You can always revert to a standard though.
The Alta standard,
Yeah.
Yep. But it's just we've had a lot of people ask if they can retroactively add it back onto their properties.
So in regards to that,
Yeah.
anything open after March 1st can be added. Anything prior to that, so anything through February 2025 cannot.
Yes, because it was filed as of March 1st.
Correct.
So, yeah, great. It's a great product. Let us know if you guys have any questions. I can quote all day if you need a side-by-side comparison. Just reach out to me. And yeah, Igniter is super helpful. So if you need access to it, please just email me and I'll get you the invite. So that's it. Thanks for having us, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And our second breakfast sponsor, you guys know, Amir Razi, Own Home Loans.
So yeah, good morning, everybody. So, I think I know almost everybody here, but a few unfamiliar faces. But for those of you that don't know me, my name is Amir Razi. I'm the president of Own Home Loans, your in-house lender. Brianna is traveling. She is in Michigan, working with one of our wholesalers. So she couldn't be here today. So you just have me, and I will have a couple announcements for you, and then I want to talk about something that Paul and I were talking about a little bit. He's hearing a lot of feedback from agents about a lot of buyers being on the fence. So we'll talk about that a little bit. But before we get there, just a couple announcements in case you're not aware. The Federal Housing Administration will no longer allow non-permanent residents. So you pretty much need to be a permanent resident or a citizen here in a couple weeks to get an FHA loan. Somebody that's got a work visa, a work permit, something like that, will no longer be able to do an FHA loan. They can still do a conforming conventional loan through Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac if they qualify. If you want to learn more about this, catch me after the meeting, call me, email me. But unfortunately, that's going away, which is kind of a bummer, but it is what it is. And always, of course, I get a lot of questions on interest rates. And I will just, I think I get the same question probably 4 or 5 times a week. What's going to happen with interest rates? And my response is always the same. Nobody knows. Mortgage rates are based on the price of mortgage bonds. It works very similar to the price of a stock. For every person or expert that's betting that rates will go down, there's another person betting that they will go up. So no matter what anybody says, nobody truly knows, right? Back in 2022, when rates started going up very quickly, so many people predicted that rates would be down in a year or 2 years, whatever. It just hasn't happened. You guys probably remember a lot of temporary buy downs happening. And if anyone ever talked to me, I was like, I don't want to do those. Well, a lot of those buyers now are hitting those full payments. So this is kind of why I like to stay away from some of those uncertain products. Because a lot of those people now may not be super happy with their payments.
Yeah, they act so surprised.
What's that?
They act so surprised.
They act so surprised. Nobody told me.
No one was surprised.
By the way, if you like to track mortgage rates, most of the news you will read online or your buyers read online comes from the Freddie Mac Primary Mortgage Market Survey, which is kind of the most popular tracker of interest rates and is represented by this kind of orangish red line here. And the more accurate line for rates is actually that blue line. That's actually based on what is actually happening with mortgage bonds. So whenever you read the news, keep in mind there's always some lag. And in a very volatile market, which is what we have right now, this is year-to-date data, you could have mortgage rates go up drastically in a week and a news article come out that they're dropping. So it always works out very kind of weird with what's actually happening. So keep that in mind. And that blue line, you can go to Mortgage News Daily. They have a really good rate tracker there, probably my favorite, where you can subscribe to the newsletter I send out every Friday for mortgage rates. I think there's maybe like 2 or 3 of you here that are on that list, but just a really good way to track rates. One more important thing, the big driver for mortgage rates up till about a couple of months ago was primarily inflation and unemployment reports, and that's completely been turned upside down. The big drivers right now are kind of news about tariffs, kind of political news, so there's a big kind of new dynamic that's driving the prices of mortgage-backed securities and therefore interest rates. So if you see an inflation report coming in lower than normal, it doesn't necessarily mean it's had a big effect on mortgage rates, which is what has been happening for the past couple of years. So with that, I'm going to move on here and talk. Oh, I don't think you guys can see that. Let's try this. There you go. Okay. So Paul and I like to talk before these meetings because I like to get his input on what he's hearing from agents and what kind of questions he's getting. And a big one right now, I opened a window accidentally. A big one right now is getting buyers off the fence, right? Affordability is low, prices are high, interest rates are high. How do you convince somebody that it's actually a good time to buy a house? Well, for me, one of the primary concerns most buyers have, and it's not the only one, of course, but am I making a good investment? And typically, if someone's going to be in a house long enough, they are, right? We all know this. If they're going to keep that house long enough, it's pretty tough to go wrong when you buy. If they're going to be in there for 6 months, that's a different story, right? But if they're going to have the house for a few years, it's really hard to go wrong buying. And I have a spreadsheet that I've created. Some of you may have seen this before. It's called the Buy Now versus Wait spreadsheet. But it allows you to put in different parameters for a loan. Keep in mind, this is a very low down payment loan. It's not ultra low, but 5% is relatively low down payment. So we're taking into account the cost of mortgage insurance. We are taking into account a relatively high rate, 7%, a relatively realistic drop in rates. If rates drop to, let's say, 5.5 within a 3-year period, and we're taking into account some appreciation. We'll come back to this appreciation number here in a little bit because I know inventory has gone up. But in this scenario, when you plug in all of these variables on a $500,000 home, somebody that puts a 5% down payment will have roughly about $50,000 more in equity after the 3rd year and roughly about a $300 lower monthly payment than somebody who waits to buy that same house, assuming they then refinance at that lower interest rate. Maybe you show this to a buyer, they're like, well, that's pretty cool, but what if the market's not appreciating? What if appreciation's much lower than that? Well, if we put in a 1% appreciation rate, they're still doing pretty good. They're still walking into quite a bit more equity, and they're still going to end up with a lower monthly payment. Keep in mind that these payments and everything include the fees for the refinance, the mortgage insurance costs, all of the things, right? We're not even tracking what their rent is or anything else. What if the market doesn't appreciate? What if it's zero? they're actually still doing okay. They're walking into more equity, and they still land on a slightly lower payment here. And if you extend this timeline, the numbers change even more. Anybody know why that might be, that they'd be walking into a better situation even if homes aren't appreciating? What the driver is for that?
They're paying down their principal.
They're paying down their principal, right? They're not putting it into a rental payment.
Is this calculating the amount, not including what their taxes and insurance, like the escrow amount? It's just going off really half of what the mortgage payment is, or is that calculate based on assuming your full mortgage payment is all of it being sent to the principal?
Yeah, so if you add escrow to these calculations, it really doesn't make a difference to calculating the equity and the payments. Escrow either adds the same proportion to the payment, so it calculates the same payment savings,
Okay.
right? So like the payment, this payment, for example, would just be proportionally higher with taxes and insurance.
I'm more so talking about the larger number to the right, the 49,670. Is that calculated with using your formula? Is that calculated assuming the full mortgage amount? If it's $3,000 a month, is that assuming that it's really only $1,500 being reduced, or is that
Yes, the same
should that
principle.
calculation be used
Yes, it's the
just
same.
using the amount but don't include what the escrow amount is?
Yeah, so either way, it would work out the same.
Okay.
Because the principal reduction never includes the escrow amount.
Okay.
Anyway. It does affect the payment. So if you're doing a rental comparison, comparing the payments to rent,
I guess that, yeah. you're
then we
right.
would
should
use
have
that because you want to have a more of an apples to apples, what would somebody pay versus rent. This is primarily meant to illustrate the difference between buying now versus waiting, right? So this is kind of making an assumption that somebody's found something comparable in rental payments or whatever the case may be for their situation. But escrow, adds proportional amount to the payment, doesn't affect principal reduction. But the principal reduction, because somebody is putting a little kind of forced savings into their equity every month, which is what's happening when you're paying down the mortgage, even if there's no appreciation, over time that adds up. And every payment takes a little bit of a bigger chunk out of that principal each time. Every month, that mortgage payment reduces that principal even more, which is why when you drag out the timeline, it becomes more and more pronounced, right? This is now a 5-year timeline, and if we added even just a little appreciation, the numbers start to get really pronounced, right? You have those people that have been renting for years and years. That's kind of you could have made some money by now.
Will that work
So
with negative if you wanted to run it with a negative appreciation?
you can run it with a negative number, yes. And I can send this to you guys if you want a copy of this to give to your buyers. I can send you one. So just send me an email.
Can you add the how to sign up for the watching interest rates?
Sure.
I'm not signed up for that, so I'd love to have
Yeah. You want to shoot me a text or
Okay, sure. I'll do that now while you're talking.
an email? Yeah, I don't have anything I don't have an easy way to show you that, but just email me. My email is right here. If you work with Brianna, send her an email. She has all of these same tools. She's amazing, as those of you who work with her know. So email either one of us, and we will get you these tools. We'll get you on our rate notification newsletter. And any questions? I think that was about 10 minutes, right?
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you, Amir.
Thank you, guys.
So helpful. All right, so we're a little bit behind schedule, so I'm going to introduce our next speaker, Rye Burks. With RE, did I get that right? Rye Burks?
Yep, you're good.
With RE Colorado. Rye is here today to just give us an overview of some updates with RE Colorado, including the new concession fields, which many of you have seen. And then we might talk about some, there you go, some listing path options for you guys for certain circumstances, maybe a little bit of clear cooperation as well. So, Rye, thank you for being here. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's make him feel right at home.
All right, I have a very quick, brief presentation, and then we'll open everything up for your Q&A and some special unannounced topics for today's conversation. But presentation here, update for spring of 2025 regarding RE Colorado. There are new fields regarding concessions for when we move a property from hopefully pending into a closed status. These fields, we'll go over how to use those when moving a property, also how to interpret those on closed properties, and a big announcement if you missed that, RE Colorado now has, and this is how people talk about it, but 2 closed prices. And if you think about that, RE Colorado always had 2 closed prices. We had a closed price, and those of us in the know knew that we needed to dig deeper to see what the real closed price was to avoid what we would call a bad appraisal, because we had to subtract all those concessions. Now RE Colorado has a net closed price that shows up on full property detail on all closed moving forward. That net closed price, you can do a lot with that. We're also going to quickly speak about listing visibility because of a communication that came out from NAR probably about 6 weeks ago regarding, I guess, delaying the marketing of a listing. And we're just going to talk about how that doesn't really change anything with your relationship with RE Colorado and your listings, because you've always had the ability to do that. And that communication came out and it was strangely worded. So I think rational people looked at that and thought it was saying something entirely different. So we'll talk about that. And then, how many of you are using Cubicasa? All right.
Big fan.
How many of you are not using Cubicasa? And those of you using Cubicasa, that's your competition. We'll talk about Cubicasa in just a little bit. So right here, when we go to move a property, and all of our 25,000 fellow RE Colorado subscribers, when we're in Matrix, we go to My Listings, select a property in that pending status, and go to Edit, and then we choose Change to Closed. This is the form that presents. When we scroll down to the bottom of that form, that's always where we enter sales concessions. But now, when we're on this screen, notice you have you have a More button. So, when you move your next listing to closed, when you click in that, did this transaction include concessions? A list presents. And there are all the different options that we can select for the concessions that were a part of that transaction. When we're done clicking on the concession of choice, click on the More button, and you get to do it all over again. So that's going to lead to better data when we and appraisers are retrospectively looking at closed listings. The interesting thing, however, is that this has been live for about a month, and I could not find a single closed listing where any of your 25,000 fellow RE Colorado subscribers used the More button and selected more than one.
I mean, what is the benefit?
What is the benefit for this? To really come through the door and say, hey, Rod, here's the value of your home. I think we should list about this. And when I tell you Zillow says my home is worth this, and Peggy and Larry sold their house for X, that's where we can pull this out and say, hey, Rod, the real value trend in your neighborhood is not that price point, because just about every sale in here for the last 6 months have included closing costs, your buy downs. We were talking about temporary buy downs today. It gives us true insight into what this market is and how to position ourselves as the go-to real estate expert in that business and price properties appropriately.
Which we already have. I mean, if I see that 10,000 was seller concessions, I know that, the net price was different. So I don't care what they were using for the 10,000.
Yep, then you may not care. Yep.
I can definitely see the value of not having to maybe call an agent and asking, hey, could you have concessions on this? So I see the value of that. My thought is, if you had all of those listed out, so when agents put their listing from pending to close, do you think you'd get more people actually fill it out?
If they were all not behind an expand collapse drop down
Correct.
arrow,
If you just had them filled out and it wasn't necessarily, maybe you have to enter a 0 instead, and then that might be able to get people on board to actually
Maybe.
push it.
the IT department at RE Colorado is watching this.
Okay. You heard it from Kristen.
Yep. It's being watched. Your feedback is being taken. Email RE Colorado customer success. Let them collect that data, especially as we're watching and using them. Yep.
I would expect most people are just going to put in closing costs out there.
Yep. That's what they're
I really
doing.
don't know if it's $10,000. I don't think agents are going to sit down and look at the settlement statement and say, well, this is the origination fee, this is the.
I agree 100%. That's our.
Unless there's a big mass, I can see the benefit, but yeah, you have to do a little more legwork when you put it through.
Time will tell. And right now we're in today's market. We're all accustomed to what these concessions are in today's market. Let's wait for the next transition when all the concessions change, and that may change the behaviors and the need for this.
But it's great that you don't have to dig.
Yep. So, question. Did you have a question as well?
Is it a mandatory field? Do we have to fill it out?
Yeah, concessions should be a part of telling the accurate, true story of moving a property into close. However, there is no police force or anyone in a golf cart saying, hey, you did this wrong.
And that goes for new builds too, because new builds aren't accurately putting the concessions they're offering as
Nope.
well. So
Nope.
they keep their appraisals up nice and high.
And so what
And there's also no policing.
What you guys have done immediately in record speed is you've called out your 25,000 fellow RE Colorado subscribers as lazy cohorts where we can't necessarily trust their input. And this holds. It's the same scenario. There's very much a human component to this, but you asked for, and the appraisers certainly have asked for, this functionality. So just be aware of it and figure out how you might implement that into your business.
So when a buyer or seller goes to, like Zillow, is Zillow going to publish?
Nope. This is never sent to syndication or IDX sites. You will have to go into your RE Colorado, you'll have to log into RE Colorado Matrix in order to see essentially what are proprietary fields. I'm going to jump over you for a minute. Question.
When you started out with this, you said something about recent sales. What was the percentage of recent sales that have had concessions?
That have had concessions? I do not have an official number for you. Hyperlocal, some neighborhoods, while I'm teaching classes, I go in and it's every single sale.
Okay.
When I pulled up all the closed in the last week and started going through looking for concessions, it's not hard to find sales right now with concessions. If we go back to pandemic market,
I'm talking
it would have
right
been
now.
really hard to find
So
concessions.
the estimate is high. I think it helps.
Yeah, concessions are the norm for today's market. It's a conversation that we probably all need to have at that listing appointment, the listing price. You guys have already had the conversation sideways 3, 4, 5 times while I sat through the introduction to this meeting. So it is a necessary component to the business.
So I just closed one this week using this new format, and it truly had no concessions. So
Okay.
Don't judge. And I clicked none, but it still required a dollar amount, so I want to make sure I was doing that right.
Yep, the dollar amount's none too. It's a big zero. Yep.
So none and zero is intended.
It's
Function
perfect.
as designed.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect. The zeros needed too because the word none takes a translation into a zero in order to do math, which allows us to now, when we go to full property detail on a closed property, scroll down to the bottom for closed price information, and this is where we can see the math coming out. Concession type, only one, but maybe someone has 2 or 3. Maybe that requires a market shift for us to need that. Then we have concession total, but that's a subtraction, your closed price and your net closed price. Where we used to have to dig and do the math ourselves. The other really cool thing here, because this is a win, if your making sure that matrix is just a tool where you're quick and efficient and you're not complaining about what it doesn't do because you set it up for you, then you've got a custom display. Closed price, net closed price, closed date. Because nobody looks at a close not wondering which one closed most recently, when did this close? And nobody in the room should be looking at a close price without saying, what's the real close price? And then back to this question, this is a conversation for my upcoming listing. Yeah, Rye, you're seeing the 3 million? You're seeing the 3,600,000. But the reality in here, these are about 3.5. That's not a big one, but there's a difference. And in some neighborhoods, those are heightened differences. Because if you're going down to the $500,000 price point, there are neighborhoods where all those homes have 25, 30,000 in concessions. That's huge. That leads to the bad appraisal if we miss this. Question? Yep.
So when I do a quick CMA or a CMA, is it going to give me that net and close price in the listing?
No, but I will take.
It matters.
That's
You don't have to pay for it.
I will take that back and figure out what the timeline is for that to be put into probably both the quick CMA and the RE Colorado's CMA Wizard, that process you're talking about.
Or at least as an option.
Yep, it's not there right now. You'll get an email. The email those, it's either going to say they're on it soon or it's on their to-do list, no ETA.
That's what I want that.
I
All
like
right.
this. I think this is a good thing. Agreed. I love being able to see these numbers.
We've got another question in the back.
I noticed that they backdated on some of the listings that I've looked at back to like 23. How far back? You know?
Nope, they're working on that. Generally, they'll backfill over time, and that backfill will grow.
And where are they getting that data?
All the information's already supplied. So the previous numbers we had, concessions, yes, no. We had one option to indicate what that was, but we absolutely were still putting in the amount of those concessions. The trick here is that moving forward, we had the ability to itemize more. I'm not seeing your habits change yet there, but the WYSIWYG math is built into the system where we're not having to do this on a scratch pad or with a calculator. We're not having to speak to this only or create our own presentation. We can show the real close price and value when working with customers. That's the big difference. So they've got what they need to do the math. They just have to apply the equation. Question?
Well, I think the one that makes a really good differential in there is, I think it was seller incentives. Is it seller incentives? Do you have that? All other
Buyer credit incentives.
I thought there was something, because sometimes I think what it helps is if a house, buyer concessions, I guess, would be, like, if the house is in crappy shape, and you're saying, hey, we're really trying to get you to do this, so the seller had to make a lot of incentive. We gave you some money for carpet, or we paid the agent more, or whatever it was. The other ones all kind of fall into the same, a loan origination fee, a loan discount, all of those. I think that's where we get confused. Like, I don't know, we gave them money and they put it towards their loan. We don't know what. So maybe it seemed overwhelming for me because there were too many choices.
And some duplicative choices.
And some duplicative
Share your feedback with RE Colorado.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
And it was,
Okay.
but it is a good thing. I like it.
I think we'll either see that people will use it and it'll be like very well filled out, and then you know this is probably an accurate calculation, or someone will write 0 and then you have to question whether that was put in just to close it out and they don't want to enter in the additional information, and then maybe you reach out or just assume that there may be a credit on there.
Yep, and if you find absolute misinformation here, report it.
Yeah.
It's a required field. Accuracy is not just a rule with RE Colorado, it's our licenses, it's our business, and it's courtrooms. So accuracy is king in this business, or queen, but it's paramount.
Yes.
All right, I'm getting the hayride faster, but it's your fault that we're behind schedule. So I'm not blowing you off when I say the importance of reporting these things to RE Colorado. It's a data organization. They need your feedback to collect and to inform future decision making and upgrades. So when you share that with customer success, just, hey, please note or pass this on, those are retained. They do change the future of our use of the MLS tools. Yeah.
I'm wondering if, what happens when you do report something, because I'm frequently looking for acreage properties, and I see a lot of listing agents where they put the square footage of the lot into the acreage box. And so a home that is really on a very small lot looks like it's a big acreage, and it goes to my clients who are looking for acreage. And then I have to regroup and tell them, oh, ignore that listing, it wasn't reported correctly. So I send that to RE Colorado, but when I look back at that home again a month later, it's still got the same misinformation in there. So I'm wondering what happens when you do report something to RE Colorado.
Reach out to RE Colorado and ask that specific question. RE Colorado has a data accuracy department, which is compliance. And they are working the accuracy, the rule following, these issues every minute of every day. So if it looks like something's being ignored, you've got to reach out to us so that you can be put in touch with that department so that they can answer that question. I'm not fully familiar with this. It may be something that is unique location. It may be information coming through the data share feed from Iris. There may be a glitch. So take the time to reach out to RE Colorado to be put in touch with the data accuracy department. Yeah.
I want to address that. I've had the same situation, and I've presented multiple complaints on the same situation, and I received an email back, and it's always the Iris listings, and they said there is a glitch with that particular field, and they're working on it. The last one I got was 2 weeks ago, so I don't know if that's where you're from.
I never got the response.
Okay. Thank you for that feedback. That was my hunch. It was probably a data feed issue where it's going to be slower. Iris has its own set of rules, but you and your business wants that data exchange, so it may be a limitation that we run into. All right, more. There we go with your concessions net close price. I said you can build your custom displays, put them right there forefront. Add close date to these, because if you're not building a custom display for your closed, you're going crazy with how inefficient this system is. If we're looking at a closed price, we should also have the real closed price, and we also should add the closed date. Those are the things we need. Make sure you build that. If you don't know how, take the RE Colorado class called Make Matrix Your Own, and or the RE Colorado class called Farming. It's a part of the farming class. You can kind of tune us out until we get to the custom display part.
I just noticed it doesn't have it on the mobile app, the net. So it's only on the full site.
Because the RE Colorado app is a consumer-facing tool, which we do log in as agents, but it's not bringing a lot of that proprietary info. I will take that back as well, saying get net in here for the agents. So CMA and the app, I'm assuming those might come with timelines or dates that's happening. But I'll take that back to the office.
I'm able to get it if I just use my phone to go to the website, and then you can click full site.
Yep.
So I just did it now, and I just did it on my phone.
You're a very patient human being. Because I tried to do that in my car before coming in here. No, not doing this. I gave up. All right, beyond that, RE Colorado listing visibility. NAR sent out a communication, quote unquote, a press release. It said nationwide, you can now delay marketing. And you and your cohorts read that and thought what? Oh, I don't have to put my listings in RE Colorado. It was a marketing communication, not something that was changing how and when and what we did with our listings and RE Colorado. So just to clarify, you as an RE Colorado subscriber have always fully controlled the marketing of your listings, because on the marketing tab when we do listing input, this is where you say, hey, Do you want this listing to display on public websites outside of RE Colorado? And if you say yes, then it goes out through Syndication IDX. If you say no, then it doesn't. You also have the ability to hide the addresses from any external or public-facing websites. You and your clients rarely need or want to do that, but when you do, there it is. Does that change RE Colorado rules, which allow the industry to function? Where when I sign a listing agreement, I've got a new listing, what do RE Colorado rules say as far as when I need to enter that listing into RE Colorado Matrix? What was that? 3 business days? 3 business days. Those of you that are looking at me like I'm crazy, that's because some of you have listing agreements that say, hey, we're going to activate Rise Home in the MLS August 31st. That's a legitimate legal contract, which means you should activate that listing within RE Colorado August 31st. But if we don't have a date and time that we're placing something in the MLS on that listing agreement, then we have 3 business days from when we sign the listing contract. Does that make sense? Why would you do that? Yeah, August would be a bad time to put a home on the market, but our sellers, that's what we're providing service to. But if we sign that agreement today, we don't have to worry about Rye meeting some other agent on vacation and signing there or putting the house on the market in July. That locks in your relationship. Talk to legal and your managing broker about this, but just scenarios to think. It's your business. Now, if you sign a list agreement today that says you'll activate it in RE Colorado Matrix on August 31st, I hope there is an August 31st, but if there isn't, August 30th, can you market that property? Nope. Can you put it on social media? Can you tell the neighbors? Can you put a sign out front? Can you hold open houses? Can you schedule showings? No. So you see the difference between delayed marketing has nothing to do with whether or not you're following the rules and how you represent your sellers and add your listings to the MLS. And then, floor plans for your RE Colorado listings. This is a class that RE Colorado offers. Right now it's only a webinar. There's one coming up real quick here. Right now registration for these webinars, they sit between 300 and 400 people. We're getting about 250 to show up for each webinar. We now have thousands of your cohorts who have signed up to use Cubicasa. Here's a QR code that you could scan. This will take you to a website where you're looking for the sign up button, and it'll walk you through the process for creating your Cubicasa credentials, username, password. Then you can go to the App Store or the Play Store, download Cubicasa, works across mobile devices. The newer your device, the better it works. Why do you care? Because this is a tool that allows you to create floor plans, walking a property in 5 to 10 minutes. And wait 24 hours, and you've got this on the right. It's a national trend. It's doing nothing but growing. NAR profile of home buyers and sellers for 2024, 87% of buyers nationwide said that they found floor plans useful. There are also stats saying that folks are more likely to ask for showings to be scheduled on properties that have a floor plan because for you, I, and every other human being on the planet, this is the quickest and easiest way to understand. Is this livable? Does it work? Does my truck fit in here? How far away is my home office from the kids? Does my home office share that wall with the entertainment system? Is this really, we can answer everything. Does my air room, dining room table work? No more previews, no more driving all the way up the hill to do that showing for me to go, yep, no. Some things we can't tell from the photos. That is up 16% from the year prior, same report. This is a national trend that's not going away. But for you and your competitiveness in this market that we're sitting in today, in May of 2024, 16% of RE Colorado listings had floor plans. National average was 20%. And for RE Colorado listings with floor plans, It reduced days in MLS by 17%. May of 2024, that equated to about 1.3 days less or fewer days on market. So this isn't one of those trends that is going away. And by the way, these national surveys are saying buyers are really only valuing drone videos, surprised me, and our virtual tours, all the myriad different products we're using, it's down at 75%. They want these more than those. I think they're still important. I wouldn't drop that product. You have to stay competitive. But with this tool, it works across prices because of your RE Colorado partnership with Cubicasa. Here's the 2D floor plan that's free as long as your scan is below 5,000 square feet. There's a plus plan for $15, which adds a whole bunch of reports, different file types, adds your fixed furniture. There's your laundry room, dual vanity, kitchen sink, HVAC. It also, for $15, appraisers are heavily using these for the GLA reports, which are ANSI compliant. This is a thing, and this is AI and proprietary technology that is changing the business that we rely on, that we're working. And this one's so easy, magical, and amazing that really, don't stress, take the webinar, walk the property, see?
So easy.
And it's, in my opinion, impossible to mess up.
It is.
That class we walked.
We did it on the same house, and I did it one way, she did it a different way, and yet they both came out.
And she had an iPhone and I had a Samsung, which doesn't have the LiDAR anymore. So I was curious to see how the readings would be
Did
different.
you take this webinar?
Yes.
Okay,
She took it
because I'm like,
first,
you're
and I
using
took the next
fancy words like LiDAR. It's
Yeah,
impressive.
so the Samsung phones don't have LiDAR anymore like the iPhones do, but we kept getting like the too close to the wall errors. And we're like, well, you do it and I'll do it and then we'll see what happens. But our floor plans came out the same.
And that too close to the wall, it's someone gently nudging you because some properties you can't stay 5 to 11 feet away from all the walls.
Yeah, it's true. Or
Repeating
staircase.
space. Take that webinar. Did you guys just say
Yeah,
take the webinar? Although they don't want you to take it. You are competitors.
It's a cool
Don't take the webinar. Or continue paying your photographers. They're using the same tool. Accuracy with this tool is within 3% margin of error, which is basically identical to you going and measuring a property with your laser pointer and me using my tape measure. If we know what we're doing, which you know if you send your clients in, they don't. But if we go in, we're going to be about 3-4% of a margin of error. So check that out. Stay competitive. There's that QR code. There's a webinar. Their only webinar right now, no recordings. One later this morning, another one next week. Watch your pop-ups and communications from Matrix. I'm over. So other conversations, you'll have to invite me back, I guess. All right, thank you.
Okay, so we'll kind of regroup back to our agenda. I usually like to start our meetings with a quick quote to highlight our theme, resilience. And I like this one. Resilience isn't just about bouncing back. It's about bouncing forward. Use setbacks as stepping stones to propel you towards your goals. We are all going to be set back in one way or another, whether it's in our business or our personal lives. And you're not just going to bounce back up. You're going to learn from that experience to move forward. So just to kind of keep that theme of resilience on our minds. I like that quote. Thanks, Alex, for finding that one. That was a good one. And then real quick, I see a couple new faces here. If you're a new equity agent, and this is your first sales meeting, I've got your Equity E pin. And I don't want this to be a stressful process for you. But if you could just say hi, and we don't bite, we're all such a friendly group. But can you say hi to the group real quick? And all right, and then I will announce it again. We're back to the $10 gift cards in person, but you've got to come to the sales meeting to get it. So a quick shout out. I noticed these 3 people, 2 of them are sick, 1 of them's under contract right now, and 1 of them's out of the country. So I'm filming, so if you see this, when you refer somebody and they're interviewed, please come to the meeting and I'll pass out a $10 gift card as just a thanks and appreciation for those referrals. So Najud Hogue, she referred Yahya Mesgore, such a nice guy. I can't wait for you guys to meet him. Ernie Quimwell, he referred Brian Rivera. And then KJ Buckingham referred Gabrielle Carney. So thank you for your referrals to the people who are watching online. Thank you. Yeah. And then a quick picture just to show you some new faces. The agents who have joined us since the last meeting. Kristen Marin. Should be Marin. We added an extra T. Sorry about that. Sarah Vibber, Raleigh Byers, Yahya Mesgore, and then Shane Grenko, Kara Hohard's husband. So I'm really excited about those people who have joined us. So welcome. Good news and success stories. So I think the big piece of this meeting, every time you guys call, we answer contract questions and then you usually have a follow-up question for me. What are you seeing out there? What's working? So I wanted this to kind of be a group conversation so we can extrapolate some business building tactics that are working for you guys. And I know there are so many success stories in our company because I'm thrilled when I talk to you and I hear these success stories. So are there any success stories, whether personal or business related, that you'd like to share with the group? Maybe a result of a new activity that you incorporated into your business? Or maybe it's just a personal win, like I got up out of bed and I made it to the sales meeting today. But I'd love to open it up. Crystal.
So I actually have two.
All right, hit us with it.
2 years ago, I hosted an open house for another realtor that wasn't able to host open house that weekend. So I met buyers in that open house. They were already working with a realtor, and they had my information for my marketing products, and they left the open house. Maybe a week later, they called me. They were not happy with their current realtor. They fired her, and then they hired me because they liked me so much when we met at the open house. Hired me, so I helped them buy and sell their homes. Then one of my clients then referred me to her mom, and now I'm closing on the mom's house. We're closing yesterday and today. We're closing on the homes that she's buying and selling. So that's 4 transactions so far from this one open house. And then this week, this is really weird. This week, and I get a phone call from somebody that met me where I sponsored an event, and they met me at the event. They liked me, and this was back in February. And he called me and he said, "We want to list our house in the next couple of weeks." And I said, "Okay, great." Gives me the address, and I look up the address. You're not gonna believe it. It's the same place that I hosted the open house where the other 4 transactions came from. And I was like looking at the photos and I was like, I know this house. And of course they said they did a lot of updating to it. So now I'm like, well, I know what it looked like before, so now I can't wait to see all the updates from it. Now they want to sell their house, they want to downsize and buy a different house. So for some reason, I'm having really good luck with this one house. This one property. But I guess it's not good luck. It's for my work and effort.
Yes.
As Paul would say, it's all my work and effort.
So I do want to pause and say, you guys always say this. You have some great successes. And then you always wrap that up with, I'm so lucky. It's luck. It's not luck. And I wanted Crystal to share this because she is somebody, and I know there's so many out there like Crystal. She's really worked on her business, as in, what are my lead generation strategies? What's my brand? What's my image? How am I talking to people at these interactions? And it goes to show there's no easy button. You have to put the time in and develop relationships, because look what happened. All from a conversation, from volunteering.
And hosting an open house. And now this is now turning into 6 transactions. Fantastic.
Can I extrapolate one more thing?
Sure.
You called me after that listing presentation.
I did. That listing presentation was 3 hours.
And you're like...
it was... But that's also because we were having conversations, like we were really hit it off together too. And They're excited to
Those are
show
the ones
me
that
every.
really stink when you don't.
Yes,
When you really like
yes.
the people too.
Yes, I really like them. They were showing me like every detail about all the updates they did in their house. It was like one of those, you know.
And what did you say on the phone call? Paul, I'm bummed. I didn't get it. I worked so hard on that.
Yes.
And what was my response? I said, that's okay. This is how you increase your experience. And these are the things that teach you how to hold the line and really showcase your value. And then there's always that pivotal moment where that client comes back around. Or you go into the next listing appointment and you win the listing by standing firm and holding to your morals and your beliefs and who you are as an agent. So to have that client come back around, that is such a huge win.
It was a huge win. It was, but it just shows like don't give up. Just don't give up.
Don't give up. Resilience. And these stories are so much more effective when you guys get to tell your stories. That's why this segment is so important. So thank you for sharing. So I wanted to take these success stories and then read this passage from this book. And if you haven't already, yeah, you've got to get this book. This is Arete. This is Brian Johnson. He's the author. We've taught his master classes. We run his podcasts and our weekly updates. The thing I love about this book is that there's an intertwining story, so it reads like a book, but it's broken down into bite-sized takeaways. And this one was so relevant to these conversations. I spoke with Crystal yesterday, and when she told me that success story, I think of Trish, and I think of so many other agents who are just working so hard, but you might not be seeing the results that you want yet. So I wanted to read this little passage. It's called Activation Energy. Have you ever heard of activation energy? It's a chemistry thing. The dictionary tells us that it's the minimum quantity of energy that the reacting species must possess in order to undergo a specified reaction. Mundane examples include water only boils once it reaches an activation energy point of 212 degrees Fahrenheit. 100 degrees certainly won't do it. 200 degrees won't do it. Not even 210 or 211 will do it. Simmering, but not boiling. Do you want to boil? Then you need to get the heat all the way up to 212 degrees. Then you'll undergo the specified reaction and boil. Same rules apply with fire. Carbon and hydrogen atoms are hanging out in paper all day, every day. And of course, oxygen is hanging out in the air all day, every day. It's all around us. But they won't combine to set the paper ablaze until a certain threshold is reached. We need 451 degrees of heat to create enough energy to catalyze the magical dance that is fire. 400? Nothing. 449? Nothing. 450? Nope. Nothing. 451? Bam! Let there be fire. That's activation energy. And that's why this book has 451 ideas, any one of which might help you go to the next level. In aggregate, if all goes as planned, we'll activate your heroic potential. Isn't that cool? And the takeaway, in practice, you might not be seeing immediate results from the business building activities you're doing. Whether you're brand new and you're grinding out there, or you're really experienced and you're trying to get more leads into your system. Take a picture. There's some highly recommended things that work. I know a lot of you are already doing it. The point is, don't reduce the heat at 211 when you're about to boil at 212. Keep going. And it's so easy to get discouraged in markets like this. Times are a little slower. But the only way you can combat that is to stay the course, stay consistent. Don't back off and enjoy the process. Enjoy hosting the open houses. Enjoy making those calls and making those connections with people. And if you just focus on that, you'll get where you need to go. Because I've seen so many of you do it. Greg shared he got 26 transactions from one open house.
Oh my gosh.
I actually forgot 4 transactions. This was 30 transactions.
30 transactions.
That's over 10 years.
Yeah.
But still.
But 2 or 3 parties came through that open house. One person turned into a friend, a client for life, multiple referrals. What would have happened if you just said, I am so tired of no one coming to my open houses, I'm done? You would have missed out.
I would have missed out. It was huge, yeah.
That's
And
reducing.
I've developed a lot of relationships from all those people. So, they're lifelong relationships. So it's pretty awesome.
So cool. And so that's a powerful metaphor. There's no easy button. Don't go buy leads. Don't read Facebook mastermind groups that are just depressing and doom and gloom. Just go out there and remember why we're doing this, which is to connect with people and stay consistent. You can't go wrong. That's the only business building method that has stayed true from 2008 in a recession up until now with tariffs and economy uncertainties. That's how you get through it. So that's my little motivation for you today, to keep going, stay the course.
Yeah, Paul.
Woo! I'm glad that was effective. I wanted at least to give you something. So a giveaway. I've got an extra copy of Arete. And to tie it back to the clear cooperation stuff that RE Colorado brought today. A listing must be entered into the MLS within blank days of the listing period. I think I saw Ginger's hand go up first. Hit me with the answer.
What?
Hit me with the answer. 3 days. That is a question that comes up often on the hotline, so I thought I'd just reiterate that. All right, guys. Well, we're running short on time, but the next piece, I again want to just open up conversation because I can tell you what I'm seeing based on all the stuff that you bring to me on the support line and that you bring to Greg on the support line. But I thought it might be beneficial to have a conversation. So we'll take a look at the market stats, but first, what are you guys seeing out there? What are you feeling?
I feel like certain neighborhoods seem to be hot.
Yeah.
And then certain ones are just cooler.
Yep.
It's just a little more specific now.
Bingo. Hit it on the head.
Certain's dead.
And certain are dead? Yeah. Yep.
I'm seeing a lot of homes that are kind of like average or basic that would have like flown off the shelf, a few years ago. Now are the ones sitting. So homes that have like a really great view or like a rare feature like a great lockout basement or a huge lot. Those are the ones that I'm seeing that are going quickly.
Yeah.
And some of the more common homes, even if they're in good condition, are the ones kind of sitting. So if I happen into a listing like that, I kind of let people know that, I'm very careful with what I'm using as a comp because people are waiting to buy their dream home or be able to justify this big hefty mortgage amount that they're looking at.
Nailed
So
it.
there's no settling.
That's the perfect explanation for that. Perfect. Is that tracking with everybody else? Any other anomalies that you guys are seeing? Katie?
I'm looking at mostly acreage properties, and I'm seeing a lot of price reductions and a lot more inventory than we've had in the recent past. My neighborhood where I live, it's all acreage properties, and I've lived there 31 years, and this is the first time in 31 years where there's been 5 active listings at one time. I think that's unusual that's just one neighborhood, but it's probably going on a lot of places.
I feel like there's a lot more listings going on the market every week, and so now buyers have a lot to choose from.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah, I had got a listing in Parker, and are you interested? Maybe. I called the gal, and she said, we saw 20 homes today. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. And she said, we've had agents calling up going, offering incentives. She goes, it's amazing the number of agents have called her and offering incentives. I was like, wow, that's crazy. 20 homes in one day.
That tracks with everything that comes through. Some properties we're seeing multiple offers again and appraisal gaps. And then we're seeing others where listings are sitting on the market for 40 plus days. So I like hearing what you guys throw out there because then we look at the numbers and say, is this normal? Like, is this what everybody's feeling? So let's take a look at the year-over-year stats. So everything you threw out, a couple takeaways: increase in inventory. So new listings, 6,764. In April of 2024, there were 5,738. So in the course of a year, we've increased inventory a lot. With higher interest rates, buyers are being more selective. They have way more options now. And we're going to expand on that in a second. Pending, 4,104 pending sales. A year ago, it was 3,916, so slightly up. Listings closed, 3,700. April 2024 is 3,600, so again, up. Median price I thought was interesting. It's flat. It's exactly where it was last year, average-wise. And then median days on market or days in MLS, that's the duration from when you go active to when you go under contract. We need to specify some things. Median, we all know how medians are calculated. You have a data set and you look at the middle number. 13 days on market. That's April of 2025, and then 9 days on market in April of 2024. We're going to come back to the average days on market too, because that number is still pretty high. When you see 13, but you have a listing that's been sitting for 40 days, that's because we're looking at average days on market, which is still floating around 37 days for an average. So average is calculated by adding up all those numbers and then dividing by the number of listings that we have, just to make sure everybody knows. Averages, medians. I had to do some research back to 8th grade on it. Just kidding. So pretty impressive. I mean, things are up, but there's still some buyers on the fence because of those interest rates. And they're kind of sitting back because they need to make sure they're spending their money perfectly. We're going to expand on that, but month to month. So this was interesting. So in March, closed transactions, 3,300. April, last month, 37. Pending transactions, March, 4,461. April, 4,104. That kind of tracks with the buyers being more selective. They're waiting for the right home. New listings, March, 6,147. April, just last month, 6,700. So again, an increase in inventory. And then median days on market, March 19, that's median. April was 13. And this is where I specify average days on market for a listing, 36 in March, 36.5 in April. So I think my best advice when you guys call in and we have this conversation one-on-one, when you have new listings, you have to do everything in your power to stay ahead of these curves. You have to price it competitively. It has to be pristine. So take some time to stage it. Take some time to have your sellers paint. Do the things that are going to make it look really, really nice. We need to make sure buyers can see themselves in these homes. And then things like Cubicasa. I always mispronounce that. Cubicasa. What are things that you can do to keep that days on market lower? Those are the kinds of things that you need to have proactive conversations with the seller right up front, so you're not sitting on the market 3-4 weeks. Now we have to do a price reduction. While you're having those conversations, there are outliers where you're just going to encounter that. Allie has a beautiful listing. It's priced competitively. It shows great. I think, are you coming up 3 weeks, 4 weeks?
Almost 4.
Almost 4. So just understand there's pockets where you're just going to run into that. But we're still not in the 3 months to 6 months on the market. Some people might be. Since October. Well, okay, then those exist out there too.
I'm in August. One in Deer Trail,
August?
425 house.
And where is it?
Deer Trail. 1,500 Aurora. Actually 495. And another here in Centennial. But needs some work. But it's 740. But the neighborhood runs like 850 plus for remodel. And we're still sitting. And the feedback from agents, tell your client to finish up upgrading house and then we come back. Okay, really? Not from one, from me. I was like, if you will come back, it will be 900. Yeah.
But that tracks with the rest of the data. If it needs work or if it's not in pristine condition, those are the ones that are sitting for a long time. And sometimes there's nothing you can do other than really try to showcase why that seller might need to make those updates.
But at the same time, when I was shopping in important for my client for anything under 550. Seriously, trashy homes, multiple offers, gap trees on everything. Put trash, sorry, but it was trashy homes.
It's a mixed bag. And we don't like that. We don't like mixed bags because there's variables we can't control. But what can you control? The price, realistic expectations with your seller early in your conversations, finishes, staging, Cuba Casa.
Is there any advantage using that over like any other floor plan?
Mainly it's easy and it's integrated.
And cost effective. It's free. Yeah. It takes it takes you 5 minutes to walk the house, 10 maybe, and then I had mine I think later that same night. I don't think it took 24 hours. It took 24 hours for it to come through, but mine came through quicker.
Does that help though? I think what I feel when I'm working with you guys in the trenches, I kind of just get a sense that everybody just wants to hear from other people and make sure that we're all good. And I'm here to tell you we're all good. It's just a different way of working. The market's a little unique. But that doesn't change the fact that we need to keep adding new people to our database. We need to study the market. All those things that we know we should be doing, now is the time to hone our skills, redevelop our systems, to keep business going into the third and fourth quarters. Any comments, any other thoughts there?
I have 2 listings now, and I sold them both to the sellers 2 years ago. So they're not sitting well in the price of those homes. They don't have the equity. And so their price is dictated by what they owe. So it's in one's a condo, one's a townhouse, one's on the high end, one's on the low end. So I think that $500,000 market's pretty easier now. It seems like once you get to $750,000, it's tougher. And if you're in that 300, 280, 300 is tough too because they don't have the fund. It's a different buyer.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have them staged and clean and nice, and there's no money in there. So I'm almost wondering when the short sales are gonna. Yeah. So I'm hoping that's not the case, but we're there where there's no more dollars left in that.
Think of how many people fall into that category too who also bought. So as much as I hate to say it, keep an eye out for short sale classes, and because we probably will start seeing a little bit more of those, unfortunately. But the other thing, an interesting article that I read that I've shared with some of you. Right now, sellers are expecting $30,000 to $40,000 more than what a buyer is willing to spend. Isn't that crazy? So that was, I think, New York Times, somebody posted that, some publication posted that. It tracks with kind of what you guys are seeing. The offers that you are getting are sometimes 20 to 30 grand under too. So we've got this weird market where buyers think homes are worth less and sellers think their homes are worth more.
Sellers are expecting what? Say that again.
They're expecting around 30 to 40K more than what a buyer is willing to pay. And I'll throw that article in our sales meeting recap.
And they're hearing that they don't have to pay buyer's agents from AARP, like big national.
I haven't had any pushback on any commissions or any weird phone calls or any issues with people, asking for a commission. Everything's pretty much business as usual on my end. So I hope people aren't spreading too much of that, expectation.
I'd say it's the same for me. I rarely have any conversations about tough situations where commission's not being offered.
Yeah.
And if I do have a conversation, the seller changes their mind weeks
I
later.
just write it in and it's no problem at all.
Yeah. Stephanie, you had a comment?
Yeah, I have 2 buyers I've been working with, and we're in the 400 to 500 price point, and a lot of flips because we're kind of looking in the Denver area. A lot of flips. 4 offers that I went to put in said that we will do a seller's concession. Pick it. It's one or the other. It's your buyer's agent gets paid, or the seller's concession. Yep. It's one or the other. We're not doing both. 4 offers came back to me and said we're not doing both.
I haven't seen that yet.
But was the concession amount like super high? Like $30,000?
No.
Oh.
It's one or the other. Take it. We're not doing both.
Not even if you meet in the middle, huh?
Well, one ended up being a bidding war. Believe it or not.
But one
it ended
out
up
of the
being a
four.
bidding war. One out of the four is a bidding war, and so you have to go back to your client and say, it's me or closing costs.
Well, that's probably also, you said, at your price point you're at. I mean, there's not many homes out there that you can get at that price point right now, so bidding wars are starting to be seen at that price.
We are, and these are all flips for investors. Investors know what's the game is. All they care about is that bottom line.
Yeah.
They just want that net. So if they have to pay your buyer's broker and they have to give your client a seller's concession, it dips into their net. And all they care about is the net.
Yeah. So those are the ones who have gotten very wise.
Well, the appraisals are dropping a little bit too, so that's why I think a lot of people don't want to offer it right off the bat, the concessions and the commission. Right? It's a lot of dollars.
Yeah. But I've gotten four come back and say it's going to be that.
Interesting. Thanks for sharing that.
What I had seen that, like I'm calling and I was saying, if there's any offers on the table, and they're saying, yes, we have 3 offers, and then, like we're passing them a couple days later, they're still on the market, I'm calling, yeah, we're expecting, but it's not me. So we're still acting like cool, and then they're calling us, are you still interested? So it's a lot of games going on right now. Actually, I got my client, we sent an offer, they were asking $540. We sent 540 with a 15,000 seller concessions. They said no. Now we undercounted for 510 with 15,000 on the same house, 15,000 seller concession. We bought as is, but they fixing everything for 3 months, everything, including new roof. And commission, first she told me 2%. Second offer I said 2.8. Success story.
There you go.
Right. I got lucky.
So you didn't get lucky. I also just want to replug those dialogues that we added to the how-to section. Study those just so you can have dialogues in your head when you come across those unique scenarios where you need to think on your feet because you're on the phone. But yeah, keep me posted. I like just hearing what you guys are seeing because that helps me come up with strategies to help guide you guys who run into the same circumstances. All right, guys. Well, I want to make sure I get you out of here on time. So the last part of our meeting, our power professionals, we had 6 power pros in March. And then look at this. We had 18 power professionals in April. I'm really excited. Congratulations, guys. That's great. So a lot of you are meeting me at the Power Professional Luncheon. If you close 2 or more transactions in a month, we get to take you out to lunch, and that's over at Yaya's today at 12:30. A lot of the attendees for the luncheon couldn't be here at the meeting, but if you're a Power Pro, whether it's from March or April, if you could please join me at the front, and I'll be right. I don't know whose shoulder I'm touching.
It's me.
No. Good job, guys.
Congratulations,
Well, before I let you go, a couple more things just real quick. New Elevate. There's a new Elevate layout that's live. If you want to try it, give us your feedback. Pretty excited about that.
What is it?
What's that?
What do you mean by new Elevate layout?
It's a new Elevate layout. They updated it. They gave it a facelift.
Oh.
And it looks great. Yeah, same website.
No change.
No change. Yeah, so if you go to the regular Elevate site, there's a little link up top that says try out the beta version. And they just reorganize things, and we're pretty excited about it. So give us your feedback, and we'll give it to corporate so they can make it better. And then some great classes coming up. We've got Homes Through the Ages by Doug Fast. This is great because he gives you takeaways. If you go and show a home in the 70s or the 80s or the 90s, he'll give you key things to look at in the inspection process for those eras of how homes were built. It's his most requested course. And so yeah, that one's on June 12th at our office.
Those for CE credit.
Yep, CE credit included. And then Amir just scheduled bridge loans. So we're seeing a little bit more of those. So, oh my gosh, so sorry. June 17th. I was working on this at 11 p.m. last night. Bear with me. And then Wells and Septics at our next sales meeting, thanks to Katie Markman. I wish she was still here. I could give her the shout out, but we've got the Arapahoe County coming out to talk about wells and septics, which we've been seeing so many more of those. That's July 17th is our next sales meeting. And then keep an eye on that calendar for June, because on the off months from the sales meetings, we're packing courses in. I think we're going to get 4 or 5 courses in 1 month of June. So, and if you guys ever want a class, I'm always open to feedback. Let me know what you guys want to see. So. And then Buffini, we're coming up with another Buffini class in July. Just wanted to put that on your radar for anybody who wants to take it. So, thanks for staying late. You guys have a good day.